swallow. It's a matter of physics.
Now I just want to go home and rewatch it.
I know. Right?
I just watched it the other day. I mean, seriously, last week.
Yeah.
I mean, I fell asleep about halfway through because life. But yeah.
No, Monty Python and the Quest for the Holy Grail is one of the few comedies that I can watch repeatedly and still laugh. Like, all the jokes still hit just like they're supposed to. And I can't think of, honestly, like off the top of my head, I can't think of any other ones other than like stand-up comedians that I could watch, and it's the same.
The first half of Caddyshack's that way for me. It goes downhill pretty quick in the second half, but the first half of Caddyshack is pretty great.
To me, Monty Python and the Holy Grail got funnier the more I watched it.
Yeah.
You know, you get older.
It gets smarter,
Yeah.
Same way with Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
I loved Ghostbusters as a kid. I like it so much more as an adult.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, because I just appreciate the
Shrek is that way for me. Like,
Really?
I can watch Shrek and just continue to crack. Like, I'll just continue to crack up because it's subtle humor. Like, and it's like it's waiting on the audience to get smarter. And as I grow up, I continue to like catch things like little one-liners.
Then I have to listen to Smash Mouth.
Well, true. That's a valid point. But Smash Mouth in the context of that is tolerable. Smash Mouth without that is not. But that's just
Raising
hard.
Arizona is another movie that got
Raising
funnier.
Arizona is pretty great.
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh,
Yeah, I need
man.
to.
Was I guess probably the Coen brothers' first movie.
It was their first major movie.
Yeah.
The first movie was Blood Simple.
Yeah.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Raising Arizona. Yeah, you definitely need to watch Raising Arizona.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that yet. I need to.
It's the one I can get Stephanie to watch because it's got Holly Hunter in it. And she loves Holly Hunter.
Nice.
But
She says that's like one of, if not the best script she's ever been given in her career.
Really?
She has said that about Raising Arizona. Yeah.
See, now, can I just not go to work this afternoon?
I mean, I don't know how many people I've talked
Sunday.
to watching it, and nobody has been mad at me for it, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's a
that's
good
gonna
movie.
happen. I need school to end so I can do things. Well, hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Southern Fried Geekery podcast. And as you can all tell, we are energized, talkative, and enthused. And part of which is because we are whole. We are full. Our hearts are full. Our table is full. There's a joke there about being full, but I'm not going to make it. And that is exciting. We're going to tell you why, and you're going to know why when one name gets said. But as per usual, I am Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
Matt Trogdon.
And I'm back,
The
Craig Lance.
triumphant return of Craig. Like we said on the show last week, I should say this is episode 222 of the show. You picked a nice round number to roll back in on.
I missed all our anniversary episodes. So.
I mean, we postponed them. It's not an anniversary without you here. So,
There's the number.
yeah.
We'll just skip it and we'll go to 5th year or whatever.
It's kind of like ours. Like, the anniversary only matters if you remember it. So it's like a good marriage.
Okay, well, I have to tell you this. So everything that's been going on in my life, this goes right along with what you said. We've just been, for those of you that don't know, I just lost my mom. And so it's been just a crazy few months, let alone the last couple of weeks. So the other day, I'm sitting there and I walked into the bedroom and Stephanie and I are having a conversation. She goes, our anniversary's coming up. And I said, oh shit, today's the 23rd. It's our anniversary. Both of us had forgot
That's funny.
Wow.
today was our anniversary. So,
Well, hey, at least
9 years was just last week.
Dude,
So,
congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
yeah, we haven't killed each other yet. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of days she wants to kill me, but it hasn't happened yet. So
It'd be weird if she didn't. I mean, nobody would,
Yeah. I mean, just
these people that say 30 years every day's been a dream. Like,
you're
liars.
lying. Yeah.
It does help when you're like coupled with your best friend, though.
It does. It gets better every year, but Matt's right. There are days that
It's stressful.
It's a struggle.
And,
Some days, but
if you got two people in a room, you got a problem somewhere.
and I work from home, and she is a housewife,
Mhm.
so we are around each other 24 hours a day for the most part. So you can imagine that there are times when we just are going to get on each other's nerves.
Craig keeping that happy wife, happy life thing going over there.
We're trying, man.
Man, doing good. Well, happy anniversary. I said this on last week's show, and I hope it was okay, but we kind of told people, like, hey, next week we're going to be back. It's bittersweet because we know what that means. We know that it means your mom has passed. Several people, friends of ours who listen to the show, Bill Zanowitz and everybody, they reached out and wanted me to offer, extend their condolences. Steve, all the guys
The
from
outpouring's been pretty great from people,
the
from
Star Wars guys reached out.
listeners, fans, friends that we have made doing this have reached out to me.
Yeah.
People that that whole group has reached out personally to me. So, it's I appreciate it all. Again, tough times, but
Yeah.
um, it's part of as we get older. It's one of those things that happens. Doesn't make it easier, and you know,
It is nice to have a good support group. I know that we've experienced loss, me and my husband and stuff, we've leaned on you guys, and that
it does
doesn't
help.
ease the pain, but it does make it tolerable.
It does help.
I do hope that we've been that for you, and we love you, man. You know that. So I don't.
You guys have just if it's just even me venting about things going on and listening, you guys have been great. So I appreciate all that.
Well, let's talk about some comics now that you're back because we got a lot of catching up to do because your chair has been empty for a little bit. I'm curious to know what you've been reading. As per usual, we're going to kick this thing off with a short stack. That's our way of just like listing off 3 quick hit comics that we've read. Maybe we liked them, maybe we didn't, but just lets us know what we're reading. Pass things around. So let's start with you this time, Craig. We'll give you the floor. Get back into it.
Yeah. So I have 4 months worth of comics to read. So I'm reading in chunks. And so rather than break it out into 3 separate comics, I'm going to give you my short stack was Batman Detective Comics number 1047 through 1058. So that's 12 comics. But it's one story. So it was written by Mariko Tamaki, art by various people, including Ivan Reis, Max Rayner, Amike. I don't even want to try and say their last name. Muahala, something like that.
Sure.
Danny Miki, colors by Brad Anderson, Louis Guerrero, and Jordi Belair. Letters by Irvin Rodriguez and Ariana Mayer. So as I don't know if you guys either one of them read this.
Yeah, I'm in the midst of it.
Okay,
Yeah.
well I'm not going to spoil too much. It's a weekly series that Detective put out, and it revolves around Arkham is no longer Arkham as we know it. It's now a tower in the middle of Gotham. And we have a new psychiatrist that's running this. It's no longer ran by the Arkhams. It's ran by a Dr. Ware, who, by all appearances, is a scam artist or a con man. And as it goes on, you find out that's absolutely true. You got Chase Meridians being implanted in there by the mayor to give reports back before the city fully funds this. Lots going on. It's a Batman story without Batman. It's the Bat family dealing with this, with Batman after the events of Fear State has left town. I've thoroughly enjoyed the story up to the very end of it. There's a nice twist that happens in about the middle of the series that you find out what's going on and how everybody's being controlled. And Mariko Tamaki always seems to nail it, and she does in this series. If I have one complaint about it, is the price tag.
Yeah.
$5 an issue every week for 12 weeks. And for that, you get a backup story in the back of the book. In this case, the backup story was pretty good until the last issue. I hated how it ended.
Is this the one with the kid?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And it's called The House of Wayne. Matthew Rosenberg, Fernando Blanco, Jordi Belair, and Rob Lee were the creators on it. It's fairly decent, but it falls flat at the very end, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you're not already collecting Detective Comics, I would suggest you wait for a trade that comes out that has a story in it and buy it that way versus going and buying the 12 issues. Just from a price tag standpoint, you're probably going to be able to get the trade for $30 versus the 60 that it's costing you to.
I'm going to be a little salty if the trade comes out and it's just like a regular floppy trade paperback and it's $20. I'm going to be a little salty about that after spending, like you said, $60 on it. I mean, a hardcover, I'll give it a pass, but
yeah, if it's got some extras and stuff in it, fine. But the price tag is a little steep for a weekly book. I feel like they're taking advantage of completionist a little bit.
Yeah.
The story does hit. Don't get me wrong; it's a good story. But I was a little aggravated by the price tag, and I'll just leave it at that. But that's my short stack.
Okay.
12 books, one story. Rather than doing the Caleb and doing 12 books for 3 stories.
Yeah. And then 2 more.
Yeah.
To round out.
I deserve that. You missed an episode, Matt. Actually, like there was a book that was going to be my just on my short stack that I'd contemplated being my book of the week, and he's like, "Well, it sounds like it was." And that was his way of saying, "Hey, you're going long."
You're going long.
Yeah. He's been keeping the reins on. He's been doing a good job.
And I do apologize because of my schedule for the past few months. I have not been able to listen. So if I step on things you guys have already talked about, just kick me or something.
Dude, we're nerds. We'll gladly rehash books
different
that we read.
Yeah, probably better ones.
Yeah, I mean the Craig view.
Yeah.
So, well, what about you, Matt? What you get read this week?
So number 1 on my short stack from Marvel is Maestro number 2 from Peter David and Herman Peralta and Jesus Abertov. I love this Maestro run. This is the last arc in this run, if I've been informed correctly, and I'm going to miss it. Peter David writes an excellent Maestro, and Herman Peralta's art is badass. He faces off against a old Namor in this one.
Yep.
And he straight up tells him, "Oh, you have a nice family. I can't wait to kill them." I really appreciated the bluntness of that evil in the Maestro.
I got the variant cover that has Namor and the spouse of Namor on it.
Really?
Yep.
Well,
for that,
take a good look.
Mm-hmm. Remember it.
Also, on my short stack, number 1 from Marvel, The X Lives of Wolverine.
Got that too, huh?
Finally got around to getting this.
Nice.
I had to order it online, got it. Now, this is by Benjamin Piercy, Joshua Cassara, and Frank Martin. I just read the entire X Lives run. It's a 5-issue run. Great run. It was really good. The story basically is Omega Red has figured out how to time travel, and he's going back and he's pulling a Terminator type thing. He's trying to snuff out Charles Xavier, and Wolverine's job is to intercept him in the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
There's an excellent moment at the end of this. Right? You're probably not on reading this, right? Are you?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so I'm not going to spoil it. There's an excellent conversation between Beast and Sage at the end of this. I really look forward to talking about that.
Are you reading X Deaths concurrent with it? Okay, yeah, because had a long conversation with Brian Pittard about this book, and I like it. It's just it's been hard because I'm reading it. I should have waited and read it all at once, and I may pull a Matt and go back and read it in a chunk because there are things that reading it week to week and then juxtaposing it with X Death. There are things that I think I'm convoluting, so I want to go back and check it out.
Yeah, I mean, I bought them. I bought them all, and I was waiting to get number 1 to start reading it. But by the time I got number 1, they'd all come out. So I read them as you're directed, lives, deaths. So I read through and read them all. And enjoyed it a lot more than I thought it would. Because frankly, when it came out, I was skeptical. Thought maybe it was like a stunt to buy a weekly book. Frankly,
well, I'm going to buy most.
Maybe it was, but they pulled it off.
Yeah,
as long as I mean, I like a weekly book if it's good.
Yeah, and I really did enjoy that one.
I'm going to read most things Ben Percy writes just because he's Ben Percy. God, I have a crush on that dude. Like, it's deep and real.
Yeah, we know why.
I think you guys have a crush on him too. It's not just me.
Yeah, just yes.
To a different extent, but it's there.
Different interpretation, but same. Third of my short stack from Aftershock, The Lion and the Eagle number 2. This is the war story by Garth Ennis and P.J. Holden, Matt Miller, and Rob Steen. So this is a great story. You know, when I talked about number 1, I talked about the fact that this is a little known, little talked about aspect of World War II, where the Japanese were trying to invade India, and the British, had teamed up with the Indian Army to fight off the Japanese on that Eastern Front. What's really notable about this particular issue is they talk about the Nepalese special forces known as the Gurkha. Had joined up with the Indian Army. The Gurkha are renowned as like maybe the finest military fighters in history. especially in recent history, they are vicious and intense. And there's a famous story in 2010 where one Gurkha faced off against 30 Taliban and killed them all.
I remember that. Yeah.
Fascinating. Fascinating.
When this story takes place, and forgive my ignorance, is India still a colony of Britain up to this point, or had it been?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure like what their relationship was during the context of the story.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, if you have any spark of interest, this one ends where there's an injured Gurkha who is immobile due to his injury, and Japanese fighters keep rushing him, and he single-handedly is taking them out one by one and screaming at them and cussing at them to bring on more. The Gurkhas are fascinating, and but most of the other Indian and British forces just think they're strange little men, but they are. But but it's
right. They're not wrong, but
they're amazingly deadly,
fierce.
So, it's great story.
Oh, what a good little death romp.
Yeah.
Nice fun stuff.
Funny enough, last night, I pulled up on, my girlfriend saw me looking at my phone. She was like, well, what are you looking at? And I was like, oh, just the history of the Gurkhas, the Nepalese fighters.
Uh-huh.
And she goes,
like you do.
Right.
Yeah, like you do. Yeah. I totally forgot to bring you that World War III manga that I was telling you about. It is sitting by my chair at home. I will do better next time.
Garth Ennis writing more stories, though. I mean,
I love them.
Yeah. You can't go wrong. So, not Garth Ennis, but a war story in a way. I got to read some Star Wars this week, just in time for Craig to come back.
I'm glad that you're keeping Star Wars alive in my absence.
I love this book. I really do. I'm not being facetious. I have thoroughly enjoyed Star Wars: The High Republic. It is a lot of fun. New characters unrelated to any of like the mainstream continuity and stuff. They just kind of show up and are a really cool contextual history to who the Jedi were way back in the day. This is written by Kevin Scott, drawn by Ario Andedito. Mark Morales, who, if you've listened to the show, I think is one of the greatest inkers of our generation. He got some inking help from Victor Olivaza, and Carlos Lopez did the colors, and Ariana Mayer did the letters. This just kind of continues to tell the story of this young Jedi, this drawn to be a young Jedi, like a young African American looking Jedi, but a young woman who she's no longer a Padawan, she's now a full blown knight. Her mentor Keeve took over, and they are fighting against this just impending force. This basically like the kudzu grass of the universe. It is this plant driven parasite that continues to just take over things and wreak havoc. I love it, man. Like it's just one big battle after the other, and really cool Jedi moments. Really, really intriguing, fun characters. This is making me incredibly happy. I can't get enough of it. Second on the list, the latest issue, and I say latest, I think it came out 2 weeks ago, of Donny Cates, Nick Klein, and Matt Wilson's Thor. This is God of Hammers. This book just keeps winning. Donny Cates is writing the hell out of it. Odin's dead. Like for reals, as much as you can be in the Marvel Universe, and Thor's hammer has an attitude problem. So, and we're finding out like all of those issues that Craig has had all these months with what's going on with the hammer. There's a reason for that, and this is laying it out.
Good of Donny Cates to come in and fix Jason Aaron's mess.
Yes,
I was waiting for that.
Yep, yeah. I mean, hey, I love Jason Aaron's story, and he left these seeds, and Donny Cates picked up on it and ran with it and gave it a really cool reason. I think, in my opinion, it is. Now, you've been the Thor person. Are you reading this?
I'm behind on it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Would love to know what you think about it. I think it's a really neat concept because he just invented something out of basically nothing and just is blowing up the 10 realms because it's not even 9 anymore. They got an extra one laying around. Found one. It was under the
sofa.
Realms
when you need them.
It's like the coins.
Like Superman's powers in the Silver Age.
Yeah, they just pop up
you need them
for no reason. Speaking of DC characters, I'm going to use that for a segue. I went back and read N.K. Jemisin and Jamal Campbell's Far Sector. I finally got my hands on the big, thick, hefty, meaty trade paperback to this character that I have absolutely been adoring in other more contemporary Green Lantern stories. This kind of just invents invents Joe. This gives her, doesn't really give her origin, but it just kind of lets you know where she came from. This was a young animal book, so it was just outside of continuity when that was going on that they invented. And she is just this really cool African American woman from Earth who's sent to the farthest region of space. She's given a special ring, that way she doesn't have to worry about hitting a battery in case something happens, because she can't get back to to Oa and the core. And she is at this planet, and this planet is made up of a trio of people, and they have a deep history, and they are not happy with each other, and it largely is because they have all suppressed their emotions and are doing drugs. So to treat these unmitigated emotions, and she has to unfuck it, and unfuck it she does. So good of a series. Jamal Campbell is outstanding.
Yeah.
And
she's a fantasy writer.
She is, yeah.
N.K. Jemison's
yes.
a fantasy writer. Jamal Campbell's the artist.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's a hell of a team up. If you haven't read this, Matt, I think you would dig it.
Yeah, you heard. Actually, I talked about it.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I thought you did. I thought that was. Well, yeah, that's true. But that's been a while. Like, I'm late to the party as always. Because that's where we talked about you like connecting to NK and all of the books that you had read before. So because you knew who she was before she tapped into comics.
Yeah.
So like I love this. It's super fun. So that's my little short stack.
Nice.
Short stack.
It's only $3 this time.
You knew I was coming back. Technically,
I was going to say it's a trade paperback, so it's technically.
I was trying to let it slide.
Look, keep me honest. That's all I'm saying. I felt Craig coming in with it. Y'all want to talk about a really cool book that we read this week?
Sure.
Let's do it. As we are wont to do, we got together this week and picked out a book fresh off the shelves to kind of unpack, talk about, to feed each other our thoughts on. And that book this week is none other than the book that Matt suggested we grab off the shelves last week in our basically setting the menu section, our pick of the week. And that is Wolverine Patch #1 from, of course, Marvel Comics, because who else would it be by? This is really, really, really fun book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. What did you guys think of it? Give me kind of your 30,000 foot view of this.
I enjoyed it. I really liked that it was kind of written like it was taking place in the 80s. Mm-hmm. To me, that was one of the fun parts about this book. I really enjoyed the story and where it's heading, which is the main point of an issue #1 is to get me hooked and make me want to read issue #2, and this book does that very, very well.
Yeah, I loved it. I really did. Yeah. And if you do like this, I would recommend buying the trade and read the first 6 to 12 issues of the monthly Wolverine run, because that's what this is.
Yeah.
And of course that was written by Chris Claremont, and the art was done by the great John Buscema.
Right.
And it's some of my favorite stuff ever. I cannot recommend it enough. If you like this, I cannot recommend it enough. If nothing else sells you on going back and reading that run is when Joe Fixit shows up.
Yeah.
It's excellent.
Yeah.
It is so good.
No, dude, I'm with you guys on this. I just had it was like a little nostalgic blast. Like I just wanted to reach back, crank up some music, and read this. I actually like double checked the cover because I was like, "Am I reading like a Marvel Comics Presents story?" Like it felt dated, but not in a bad way. Like it felt, you always have those guys who, I'm an old head. I know exactly what sells comics and what makes good comics, and the new comics suck, and let me tell you about it. And then they write comics, and it's like, no, this is just bad. Like this, just like you just haven't grown. Larry Hama has grown as a writer. He's honed his skills, but he can still write a story that feels like it's written in that era, and just shine. Like I don't know how else to put it. The dude just wins.
Well, the dialogue and everything is very 80s feeling.
Yeah. Oh man, it is.
Yeah.
It made me laugh too. It's great. Good stuff.
Well, and even some of the references, like there's some little subtle references that are very, very 80s that I thought were great. So this is, as I said, written by Larry Hama. It is drawn by Andrea DeVito. Lebo Underwood did the ink. Sebastian Ching did the colors. VC's Clayton Cowles letters everything, and with cover artists Jeff Shaw and Edgar Delgado. So this starts off as as like these guys said, it starts off right in that era where Wolverine is hanging out in Madripoor during that first 12 issue Wolverine run. He is, if you open up the first page, he's dapperly leaned against the bar, clad in his white suit with his eye patch. This is Patch era Wolverine, which you knew from the title, right? Hanging out in the Princess Bar, dealing with the seedy underground of Madripoor. Tiger is doing her thing, and it's just kind of a day in the life. Like this is just like, hey, this is a blip, this moment in time that happens. He's sitting there talking to his buddy, having a glass of single malt, which it's Logan being a man of finer taste. He's just like this. This just smells like a wet campfire. This is supposed to be the good stuff. And to the other guys, like, yeah, you're in Madripoor, but this is the good stuff for here. The other guy is he's a businessman that has a relationship and a friendship with Logan, and I think Matt would probably know more about this guy. I'm not sure if this guy has shown up. Like he feels familiar, but I'm not sure if he is or not.
Yeah.
Like I think I've read him in other books before, right?
I mean, he was part of the original Madripoor storyline.
Okay, yeah. It's just been so long since I've read that. So he's leaned up talking to his buddy, and his buddy he's a pilot, right? Like he has his own shipping service, so to speak. He does drops, does jobs for people, but business is not great right now, and he needs something to float him through. Well, in walks Tiger, and she is accompanied by the prince of Madripoor, and he needs them to do something. So, heavens above, trumpets shine. This guy's business is going to get saved, but they're not so sure. In fact, as
heavens above, trumpet shine.
Yeah, dude. Hey, look, that's saving a small business. I'm about it.
Yeah.
Logan pours another glass of the scotch, and he's just like, I'm not even remotely interested. I don't want to do this at all. But hey, they work it. They change his mind. Little kiss on the cheek from Tiger does a lot. And so this is going to happen. Our main Corrigan's going to get his paycheck. So they load up the plane, and they're doing a little bit of like a recon mission. They are flying over the jungle, checking things out. They pass over this warehouse-looking thing below them that they don't know exactly what it is. It's not on the maps anywhere. It looks kind of like maybe it's some sort of research facility. Like maybe it's there's something going on here that they don't know about. And this is. Look, Patch knows everything. Wolverine knows everything about this area. He's a spy. This is his stomping ground. So there are things happening on my man's turf that he doesn't know. So he's kind of curious. Well, he tells Corrigan to circle back around because he sees a glint of metal. Meanwhile, inside this cabin warehouse thing down there, you've got some seedy scientists who are in fact up to no good, and they're hiding. They're wondering about this plane, whether or not they're about to get busted. They're not down with it, but. Like they're not down with being spotted. They're up to some clandestine just nonsense. But the glint that he saw, the shiny metal, has nothing to do with them. Ironically enough, interestingly, they circle back around. They drop the plane down to treetop level, and they see this old, or seemingly old, Russian airplane. But it's not an airplane that they recognize. It looks like something that maybe the Soviets were playing with, that they hadn't worked out all the kinks of. Now, this thing looks like it's been wrecked there for a hot minute. Like it's grown up in the weeds, it's rusty, all the glass is broken out of it. Obviously, it's wreckage. And they're kind of wondering, this is like, what is happening? And about that time, it gets really shadowy above them. Now, they're in an airplane, so what's happening above them? Well, what is big enough in the Marvel Universe to just pop out of nowhere and block out the sun? It's a shield helicarrier. And as the shield heli character, because words matter, and I can say words, shows up. Nick Fury and his gang of spies let them know that, hey, we need to have a conversation. You guys need to come on and jump aboard, and let's talk about what you're doing here, because you're messing up my operation. We've got deep black ops here, and Wolverine's like, dude, you're in a shield helicarrier. This is not black ops. You're about to rain hell on somebody. Like, cut the shit. Like, just like, let's not do this, Nick. You're playing in my world. This is bullshit. So they get to let it go. They promise, swear, men of their word, that they are going to go back to Madripoor, land the plane, and they will stop doing anything that has to do with this. And they do, and they make it about 2 minutes outside, and Wolverine jumps out of the plane with no parachute, nothing, just dives right down through the canopy of the trees, breaks a few bones in the process, but he's Wolverine, so fuck it, it doesn't matter. He is able to kind of get up, start searching around.
I think, in fact, he does not break any bones.
No.
He doesn't break any bone. He readjusts some joints.
Yeah.
I should say
Yeah.
the sinew at the joints break because he's got adamantium bones.
Yeah, the
And
dislocated elbows.
they cannot be broken.
Sorry, I only said that because he points out the
No, he
fact
does.
in
He
the
does.
book that he didn't break it.
There's a really great image, in fact, where his elbow is like all gnarly and backwards.
Pointed the wrong direction.
Yeah, and then he just snaps it back into place because you can't keep a good Canadian down. You just can't. It's not going to happen. While all this takes place, there are some army folk, assumedly part of the Madripoor army, that kind of see this. Or they see something happening. There are indigenous people, I guess the indigenous Madriporians, who are connected to the research facility that we saw, who are upset. That people are encroaching on their turf and destroying their forest, but they catch one of these guys and they're basically grilling him about what he's doing out there. And he's like, we're trying to figure out who's taking the quote unquote little people of the forest, the monkeys, that these guys are taking back to the research facility. And they just summarily execute this poor bastard. Like he doesn't doesn't get back. It just very much to show that they have no respect for human life. They have no respect for Madripoor, no respect for the indigenous population, the animal population. They are seedy individuals. Meanwhile, Tiger realizes that Logan does not, in fact, make it back to the Princess Bar, that he got dropped off in the jungle, and she's letting Corrigan know that some things are amiss. And that's kind of that's kind of where the story gets really fun. Like you're sitting here waiting for the violence, like other than people getting shot in the back of the head, but there hasn't really, you haven't seen the claws come out. Literally, you haven't seen the claws come out. While Patch is picking himself up and dusting himself off in the forest, he smells something. Smells pheromones. Like somebody's moving in the jungle. He can hear them barely. Can't see them. Like these are somebody like who is expert in subterfuge. Like they don't want to be seen. They can't control the sense that their body's putting out. All of a sudden, this big Russian woman jumps down, does a superhero landing a la Deadpool, because that's fun, and proceeds to just start whipping his ass. Like they just go at it, getting a big fight. And he, is taking it in kind, trying to figure out what's going on, trying to convince her, hey, I'm not here for you. I don't know why you're beating me up. Something's going on here. You're Russian. This is Madripoor. This is weird. Like, let's talk about this. She's not having it. She just jumps into action because she is sure that he is there searching for her and trying to get the quote unquote reward. They keep saying this. You must be after the money, the reward. Patch is clueless, man. This dude doesn't know what's going on. The big Russian woman is beating his ass, and now there's money involved, and he's in the jungle, and like what? Like what? There was an airplane, and there's a research facility. Who knows what's going on? But she's not alone. She has a partner. Literally, I think it's supposed to be her husband or her lover or something like this, who shows up. Turns out these two individuals are mutants, kind of. Or at least they seem to. They claim to be both mutants and enhanced people. And he is super fast and can cloud himself. She's super strong. They seemingly dispatch Wolverine, but they also seemingly don't know who Wolverine is. Especially in mutant circles, Wolverine's famous. They're from Russia. Obviously, he's had dealings with Russia prior to this, but they don't seem to know who he is. They stomp our man down, and then are convinced that they've killed him, and they're going to walk off and go deal with other stuff. But it's Wolverine. You can't do that.
Bad mistake.
Oh yeah, this is. They
Seems like
should
they could come back and haunt them later.
they should have done their homework on this one. This was a bad move because he now jumps up and is going to track them and start putting the puzzle pieces together, and that's where the first issue ends. So what do we have? We've got Wolverine lost and alone in the jungle in a white tuxedo. You've got really scary government officials doing really terrible things at a research lab that's not supposed to be there. You've got two stranded Russians in a high-tech suit who seem to be misplaced from time and are like running from bounty hunters. And then at the back, you've got Tiger seeming to be working an angle that nobody, as she always is. Dude, yeah, like I said, I had to go back and make sure I wasn't reading a Marvel Comic Presents story. This it moved so fast, and it was so fun, and it was a little bit dated, but not dated in the way that I felt like I was going back and reading those Claremont stories, because I can go back and read Claremont stories now, and I just get kind of bored with it and bogged down. And yeah, no, I mean that's
Caleb does not speak.
Could you
No,
please
for
pick
the
me up
whole
off the
Caleb
ground?
speaks.
Southern Fried
No,
Chicken.
Caleb speaks for Caleb. Claremont's not even in my top 5 X-Men writers. So like that's just I've said that before. Like he's like the longest and storied person, but no, there's better. But regardless, this
I
felt
think I need an
awesome.
inhaler.
This felt awesome to read this.
So when you were going back and revisiting it right now, rehash it, whatever. One of the things that popped out to me is that it feels like a supernatural version of Casablanca.
A little bit.
You know, he's sitting in the bar drinking. He's got his buddies there. You know, it has that vibe, which Madripoor always does to me. It's a little bit, on the outskirts of normal society, but they try to pretend there's a high society there and all, and that's what it feels like to me. And maybe that's why I enjoyed this so much. But it was just fun.
I loved the artwork in this.
Oh
book.
yeah,
Man,
It
it's
was
so
very
good.
strong.
These fight scenes are so good. Yeah, I love the artwork in this book.
Very strong, very kinetic.
Well, one of the lines that Wolverine has in it is he says, "Wish my healing factor came with a no pain factor
Yeah,
too."
Yeah.
Which I loved.
Yeah.
But he's like, well, it makes you stronger, I guess.
Well, Larry Hama's got a great feel for the character, and he always has. Like he's such a great writer and such a strong writer.
Well, jungle warfare is up his alley.
Yeah.
So this is a thing that's going to be fun for him having Wolverine in the jungle fighting.
Mm-hmm. Well,
because it's literally Larry Hama's life,
right? Vietnam vet.
Yeah.
That's what he brought to GI Joe and stuff
Right.
too. It's what he brought to this. And the cool thing about Larry Hama and what I love about Larry Hama Madripoor stories, because you're right, Madripoor it is this weird mix, convolution of culture in there, and you never really know where it's at. Like it always seems like maybe like is this like a little island off of Korea, but there's also there's always English
It's
influence.
the place you can go to get away from the rest of the world, but you can still have black market dealings and the underside, and it's always just a little seedy, a little there's always more than meets the eye as to what's going on.
Well, in a world, in a world prior to things like sensitivity readers and stuff like that, you had Larry Hama writing this place, and even if you go back now and read those stories, there's tropes there, but it never feels like it's like uncomfortable, even by today's standards. Like you can read some of those stories where they talk about things that happened, and there's some racist tropes, early Marvel, this, that, and the other. But Larry Hama stories never feel like that, and it's because of the perspective that he always brought. And I really appreciated that. And this feels the same way. Like you have this convolution of, there are some tropes here, but they are not, they don't feel uncomfortable. Like they are not seated in racism. They're, even Tiger, because the other writers, there's some stuff there I'm like, ooh, if you go back and read them now. But she is just this really powerful, like mafioso type woman. With so many irons in the fire.
She's just a bar owner that happens to do some shady
that's true.
dealings
Yeah,
on the side.
How
dare you? No, I'm
just own a waste management system.
Yeah.
That's all I do. That's all I do.
That's right. She's just a bar owner.
But we were talking about the 80s isms of it. There's this one moment where our Russian badass, knocks our boy across the jungle. And he says that's not how you make friends and influence people.
Mm-hmm.
Like that little, you guys know, especially since we talked about Zach's Ditko book. Like I find Dale Carnegie and that whole little world fascinating, and that's straight up just a nod to that.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, that's fun. That's like I love those broader literary things that get injected into comics and don't get explained. They're just like, if you know what this is, you know what this is.
Well, and you keep saying Russian, but I think they're really supposed to be Soviet era.
Right.
Which we called Russian back then, but it to be clear, this is meant to be Soviet Cold War.
Yeah, much broader country than just Russia.
Yes.
So no, like I can't wait to see what happens with this. I want to see more Nick Fury and Wolverine conversations because that was fun for me.
Oh yeah, the back in and that was great to see him pop up in this because back in this original run, very adversarial.
Yeah,
there's actually an OGN that there is one of the best fight sequences I've ever seen between Nick Fury and Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
It is so good. Again, illustrated by John Buscema. There's one panel specifically. In fact, if you Google it, it'll pop up because it's so good. And it's Nick Fury gut punching Logan.
Yeah.
It's just like a clinic on how to write or how to draw a punch. It's so good. Yeah.
Nice. Dude. This really did feel like, I think I said it about the book we were reading last week. It felt like Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
It was just fun to kick back and read this.
Yeah.
And I
My
can't.
Saturday morning cartoons were much less mild than your guys'.
Well, yeah. But I mean, just that feeling of like, okay, this is not too serious. Like, I get the day to just have fun. Woke up, there's nothing pressing. This is just enjoyable.
This is when I enjoy them taking characters and taking them out of current continuity and doing things with them, is when they tend to revisit old times with the characters, or it's just I enjoyed this, even though I don't necessarily always enjoy that out of continuity.
I was gonna say, it's hard to balance because like doing it this way, I absolutely love, and then you've got like the Byrne way. Like if you don't know, like Byrne has long had this this fanzine that he publishes to like still to this day, where Byrne is still writing the X-Men. But he's like writing it through the lens of he hates Marvel, and they're not like I've read a few of the PDFs that he puts online. They're not great, it's not But he does it in that way of like this should have never been changed, and my way was always better, and this is the only way you do these characters, which is bullshit. Versus this is just like, hey, we can go back and relive this time, and we can still have fun with it, but we don't have to degrade anything that's happening today.
Well, I mean, obviously, just we got that run of Patch in the original Wolverine series, but obviously, you can go back at any point and play in that era and say this happened there too.
Yeah.
It's just for fun.
Yeah, it's like 3 days.
Yeah. Stories probably happen that we weren't told
exactly
before. Yeah. And that's the way I look at stuff like this. So.
I enjoy it.
A lot of fun. Can't wait for the second issue. Like I said, I was hooked. I was ready for the second issue.
Yeah.
As soon as I was done reading this issue. So, I'm sold. I'm in.
One nice touch in this that, I have forgotten. There's a specific panel in here where Tiger is talking to Archie in the hangar. And she is sporting this dress that had a major effect on me as a child.
Oh, the red one? Yeah,
as
the red
a young
gold
child. I was like, I don't know what it is about this.
Yeah.
I like this thing.
You know what it is about that dress.
Well, I do now. As a child, I was like, this affects me greatly, and I'm not sure why.
Them hips don't lie. Yeah. That's the only thing about Tiger that don't lie.
Yeah.
Is them hips. I forgot. I could not think of Archie's name.
Oh, yeah.
That owns he owns the airplane and stuff. So it's been so long. I don't know when the last time he showed up was.
I've not seen him. Yeah, I've not seen him used since that run.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, I collect the Marvel Comics Present stuff, and I'll go back and read them every once in a while. I think there's some stories in there with him in it.
Possibly.
But
because there's some Madripoor stories.
Yeah. But it's been forever since I've seen him show back up. So good for Larry Hama. Just flexing on us.
Yeah.
Just doing it. Well, all right. I'm picking this up. I'm on this series till the end. It's too good to pass up.
Yeah.
So we encourage you to do so. And if you read it and you have other thoughts or there's things that we left out, you should come tell us about it. Jump over to our Facebook page or our Instagram page or our Twitter page and let us know your thoughts on these things. If you're on Instagram and Twitter, it's at SFG Podcast. We would love for you to follow us, tag us on things, continue to just spread the love of these funny books that we really, really enjoy. So we got a treat for y'all, especially since Craig is back with us now. We're going to get those brains functioning. We're going to get these things moving. It is the last podcast of the month, and so we are going to have our chaos episode. Now, a few months ago, we all wrote a bunch of questions out. We threw them in a pile, and we picked them, but we didn't get all of them. We got some left over. So we thought, why not revisit that, especially now that they are not – I don't even remember the questions that I posed.
Well, the thing about it is going to be I've had my brain turned off from the comic world now for quite some time, so this is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Kickstart it.
80,000 volts straight to the nipples.
Pretty much.
Just get you awake. So who wants to kick us off? Who wants to pull the first batch out of the pile?
I'll pull it.
I think he has to.
That was a silly question. That was a non-question.
It was, yeah.
It was falling force.
It's true.
Do you enjoy when they role reverse existing characters? For instance, making the hero a villain or the villain the hero. If so, what is your favorite example of this?
I'll start us off on this. I'm going to give a lawyer answer. It depends, right?
Oh,
So
boy.
it depends on. It does depend on the story and what's going on. So I need some compelling reason for it to be. Usually we've seen mind control. We've seen recent examples, and actually I think my favorite example of when this happens is when Superman goes out of control. He goes bad. I'm thinking obviously about the book that we read last week where Superman gets red kryptonite injected into his heart and he's hallucinating and he's seeing all of these villains and he thinks he's doing good. And he's not necessarily being a villain, right? Like he thinks he's doing good, but he's wrecking Metropolis, and Batman, Robin, and all the Doom Patrol have to step in to stop him. But there's a compelling reason for that, right? Like there is something going on with him, and you see this in Marvel sometimes too. The Hulk is another good example, where he is just such a force of nature that people use him or misuse him. And so that to me is when it's done well. You've had some examples in the past where I don't think it works so well, and I don't want to step on anything that y'all might be talking about, but I'm thinking about the series from about 7 years ago, Axis, where everybody kind of flipped and you had Havoc being a bad guy because and I forget what was happening with this. It was something like the AVX stuff, but and then you had Sabretooth being a good guy. And I didn't care for that
This
because
is where we're gonna drift apart.
yeah, I did like when he was a good guy. He developed a relationship with Monet St. Croix, and I thought that was great. I'd loved him to revisit that, but I didn't like Havoc as a bad guy just for the sake of this weird role reversal. That especially when everybody else got
Well, it was
flipped
caused
back.
by Red Skull.
Yeah,
So
he came back as Onslaught again or something like that during that time, right? Or did something was going on with that?
they were using Red Skull's. Crap! It's been so long since I read it. They were using Red Skull's skull.
Yeah,
Uh, they'd put his powers in Charles or something like that. I don't remember, but
that's right. Yeah,
it was that you had this handful of people that flipped their role reversal, and I thought it was actually. It's not my favorite example of this, but I did enjoy Sabretooth being the quote unquote replacement for Wolverine, who was dead at the time. So
yeah, he was encased in adamantium, being a statue.
So, a little bit I do agree with you that it depends on the story and who's telling it, but in general, I enjoy it if it's done well.
Yeah,
That can be said about most stories.
Yeah.
I'm never opposed to it. Like I don't see a role reversal story and just like, nope, not reading this whatsoever. I
Like a
always
time
give it a
travel
chance.
story where I'm like, it's time travel.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't like the idea as a whole. I mean, I feel like I don't want to say it depends if it's done well. That feels like a cop out. But if I have to give an opinion on this, I'd say I don't care for it as a whole. I definitely don't like it for. There are certain characters I think it's never going to work for.
Right.
The easiest examples are Captain America and Superman.
Yeah.
If you're writing them as doing evil deeds, you suck.
Yeah.
Which was the whole problem with the Hydra Cap thing.
So now that's different to me. I'm not that I'm defending that it was crazy about it, but that's different.
It wasn't Captain America.
It turned out to not be Cap, but we didn't know it necessarily at the time.
Yeah, which that I don't have a problem with what Spencer did with that because of the way he handled it.
Right.
But let me give you another example: the Injustice storyline, where Superman starts.
The Tom Taylor stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
Now that's all out of continuity, but it still is a thing.
Right? Yeah. I don't like that. I think that sucks. Mark Millar did something along those lines with Superman as well that I blocked out, and he actually regrets that. As saying, he said he didn't realize what he had done until he watched Batman versus Superman, and he was like, "Oh shit, what did I do?" And that's why he went back and wrote that independent story, Huck.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And I will give you that's my least favorite part, and of a lot of least favorite parts of the Justice League movie, is when Superman comes back and he's evil for some reason for an instant. It's like, what the hell are they doing here? This makes no sense.
So, there are, times where I do like, but there are some characters it's just not going to work. It goes way too much. It's the antithesis of the characters. But, but that's what makes them special in this world.
Yeah.
Versus, virtually everybody else that's got
I would put Spider-Man in that same.
Great, Spider-Man's a great example of that as well.
Because of the very core of who he is.
Is rooted in morality.
So, and there's other, Spider-Man's a great example of that. But there's so many gray characters that you can do that with. The Hulk's a great example of that.
Yeah.
I mean, the Hulk can be quote unquote a villain super easily, and it's not a stretch.
Yeah.
It's in the regular continuity confines of the character.
Namor.
Namor's another great.
I'll give you two that it was done really, really well on. That they did it over time, and it was just the natural course of events. That Scott Summers going evil.
That
one I did think of too.
And Magneto becoming at least neutral.
See, that's it. Yeah, and Magneto's another one that's easy to go back and forth between because of his motivations. It's it is.
So those two, in my opinion, were done really well because of the way the story unfolded. It was a natural evolution of who Scott was and what he was fighting for that led him down that path.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious to know what you guys think about like the Red Sun series, though. Was that
Red Sun
the one
was
you
fun.
were talking about, Matt?
Red Sun was fun, but it was fun in a way because it took and twisted.
Superman's
it had to do with where he was born. If you took him out of the Kent's raising him, what happens with him?
Yeah.
And that was an interesting take on it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that's valid because what that indirectly does is paint the importance of Superman's upbringing and who he is.
Yeah,
so what roots nurture versus nature.
Yeah, I think that's so I think that's a valid because it's giving that much more strength to who the continuity Superman really is in a really clever way.
I think as a trope, I like it better when they invent new characters as like homages or stand-ins. So like the Squadron Sinister over at Marvel is essentially the Justice League, right? Like you've got Superman, you've got Batman, you've got all of these stand-ins over there, and
the forever evil.
Yeah, they are bad guys, or were for a long time over there. Hyperion and all that crew. I like that better because you don't have like those characters. They have that power set, but they're not rooted in that morality or the ethics that we know of them, and you don't have now 85 years of history.
Yeah.
But you get you can get a Green Lantern as Prism, being a bad version of that, and it doesn't feel like you're
for the most part anything. There's an anti to most of the heroes anyways, right? So Sabretooth is Wolverines, and a lot of these characters have their antithesis of themselves. Zod of Superman. You can go on and on. Rorschach to Batman in its own way. There's these reverse types of people. So
that's cool. That was fun.
So let's see. Next,
what you got, brother?
Do you like sidekicks / apprentice heroes? Which sidekick is your favorite?
I'll kick us off again. I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to give the generic answer. I think Robin's awesome. I love those Robin stories because you juxtapose it with, really any kind of Batman. If there's a Robin in the room,
which one?
Well, again, that shows you. I mean, so my favorite is. I don't even want to pick a favorite. I hate doing that.
You got to.
I think
for some reason.
I think because Matt makes rules. I actually love Tim Drake. I like Tim Drake. My on paper clinical answer is Tim Drake, but my heart wants to say Dick Grayson just because he's Dick Grayson.
Well, then you put it on paper. That means it's official. It's
Tim Drake. I'll go with Tim Drake just because he is so damn smart and isn't there by accident. He's there because he wants to be, where everybody else kind of like they landed in a situation and then were there and then worked it to their advantage. He sought it out, and he's definitely the more analytical of all of them. I think
he's definitely the best detective of the group.
Yeah. So it's him, but I like sidekicks. Mark Waid did a series called
Sidekicks.
Yeah, it's side. Well, there's that and the father son one, Insufferable.
Maybe that was Mark Millar that did Sidekicks. I don't remember.
It's about a father son team, like after the fact, where they've gone on in the sun. I forget what it was called, Incorruptible, and like something. It's really good, Mark Wade. About the sidekick growing up to do stuff. So no, I think they're fun.
I think they can be fun. I know there's a group of people out there that absolutely despise the whole sidekick trope. I think it's been done well for a long time in the Batman series, of course. I don't. I could do with or without Roy for Green Arrow. Yeah, I mean, he annoys me, but that's not a thing about sidekicks in general. It's just a character I don't care for. But on the whole, I'm in for sidekicks. Mm-hmm. Dick Grayson being the best of them all because he is the one that literally could take over being Batman if he needed to.
Yeah, and
has and in fact, in my opinion, was a better Batman than Batman. He was.
Grunts and Matt
stands on the shoulders of giants. Got to give props to where he learned.
I'm not saying that.
Yeah, but the flip side of the argument is he learned what not to do from Batman.
Yeah, he did a better job at being Batman than Batman did at being Batman. That's my opinion. It's one person's opinion. Hey. It doesn't mean I dislike Bruce. I love Bruce.
Right. You hate Bruce, and that's now official.
That's canon. That's SFG canon. No, so Dick being my favorite of the
mine too
of the sidekicks. Yeah.
What about you, Matt?
Dick Grayson. Yeah, it's really hard to think of and I really am not really much into sidekicks. I hated Robin for most of my life. It took a long time for me to really, appreciate the character and Dick Grayson. I just think is the most entertaining, frankly. It's his relationship with Batman the way he was written in so many instances is just funny. Because Batman is so serious, and the way Dick Grayson, in so many ways he's written, just pokes fun at him.
Well, and because of who he is, he has the freedom to say anything to Bruce.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, he says the things to Bruce that nobody else will say. And it's I have a hard time with the term sidekick. I don't like thinking of Tim Drake as a sidekick.
I don't think he is anymore.
He's more of a partner. Yeah. You could call him that, early in the character's history. But I don't know. It evolved more into a partner than a sidekick. That's a.
So if we eliminate the Batman sidekicks, the Robins and that group, do you still like sidekicks? Because as a whole, we all gave a Robin.
Yeah.
So if you eliminate Batman sidekicks or apprentices or helpers or partners or whatever you want to call them, do you still enjoy sidekicks? And when has it worked in another group that you enjoyed it?
No, I do. And actually, I can give a really good example. I'm a huge fan of the Fearless Defenders, and in the Invaders, and the sidekicks all over that. So you've got the Human Torch, the original android, his sidekick Toro. I think that was a really fun dynamic. You had Captain America and Bucky, like in that setting, in the Invaders setting. Namor had a sidekick for a little bit, and these were very explicitly sidekicks. That does. Okay.
So the Bucky thing. I mean, since Bucky was introduced, he was explicitly introduced as a partner and not a sidekick.
Yeah, but he was relegated to a sidekick for a little bit.
Since his inception, they made a point of saying that this is a partner, not a sidekick.
Yeah, they said one thing and did another.
I would say that Falcon was more of a sidekick to Cap than
he was for a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorite lines ever is when Falcon says, "My name is Falcon, not and Falcon."
Yeah.
In those Invader stories, if you go back, he's very much written as like a Robin-esque figure. He's and especially juxtaposed to Toro. Those are like the kid crew.
Yeah.
And that's like I know what you're saying. Yeah. But in those stories, they said one thing and did another. And I love those stories.
Yeah.
So I have a follow up to that after you give your answer.
I don't know. Outside, I mean, the quote unquote sidekick or apprentice, I think apprentice is a better word for what I like, is when characters have one and they're not good at having one.
I have, yeah.
Wolverine is a great example of that. Wolverine kind of took under his wing a lot of young female characters throughout his history, going way back into the original X-Men. Yeah. And he's not a good mentor.
No.
And that's what made it, and that's what always made it so fun. Whenever the Shadow Cat joins the X-Men and he kind of, somewhat takes her under his wing, and he's just not a good mentor. And that's what made it so good to me.
The Hulk and Rick Jones in those first 5 issues, where I think Rick Jones was meant to be a sidekick, and that the Hulk can't have a sidekick, So I think he's just not good at them. So, kind of following down the path that you guys were talking about, though, do you guys think when was the last time an actual sidekick was a sidekick and not a partner? Do you think it's such a dated trope now that it just no longer works in a new, like in a novel kind of way, in a contemporary way?
I think Speedy was definitely a sidekick and not a partner.
Well,
I think towards the end he became a partner, but I mean certainly when he was a teenager
in Teen Titans. But again, that was the 1980s, right? So I mean that's long enough now that we don't want to think about how many years ago that was.
I can't think of one.
I can't think of.
But
that's been introduced.
For most of my life, if I see a sidekick story, I've avoided it. So I don't have a wide breadth of knowledge in this.
Yeah. Well, like both of you pointed out, though, you look at the Bat family now, and they're no longer sidekick. I don't think that Batman has a sidekick now. Now it's the Bat family, right. And they are partners. Yeah. They are doing things. You've got the champions.
I would argue that maybe Damian, only because of his age, is still not reached because of his relation. He is both Bruce's son, and he's 12 years old.
Yeah. When was the last time we saw him go on adventures with Batman, though?
Him and Batman have been, but in the Detective Comics, he's in that.
Yeah.
In the Tower.
Yeah, he is.
So he's helping, but him and Batman are not teamed up currently.
Frank Miller's Bat, what's her name in that? I went blank. I can't.
Carrie Kelly.
Yeah, Carrie.
She was definitely a sidekick.
Very much a sidekick.
Was that 86? 87, 86? Yeah.
So 80s probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know that it works anymore as a trope. I think that they've all. It'd be interesting to see a new writer actually write a sidekick.
What was the one for Black Hammer, the Bones and Skull and the Bones or whatever?
Skull Digger and Skeleton Boy.
Yeah.
That is, but again, that's also a love letter to that.
Oh, I get it. As far as I knew.
Oh, I actually went back and bought those 1930s, a collection of those 1930s comics. I can't think of what they were called, but that they were based on.
I mean, all of the Black Hammer series is a love letter
to the medium. Yeah, just all right. I think I typed this one out. I think what pieces of original art would you buy if money was no object? Name 1 to 3 pieces.
I'll start with one. And I would get the Queen Poison Ivy spread page from the last Batman Jorge Jimenez drew.
It's incredible. Yeah. Oh boy, man, this is tough. So I would have to get some John Byrne art from X-Men. Oh, is it number 183? This is the issue where Wolverine storms the Hellfire Club. And that was the first issue where we really saw the deadly nature of Wolverine. I would have to get some art from that page, from that book. That's the first thing that comes to mind. 2 to 3 others. I would definitely want an original Jack Kirby Hulk.
Yeah.
I still think that is one of the top 2 best representations of the Hulk is Jack Kirby's Hulk. And number 3, I'm going to have to think about. This is not a fair question.
So I would take two other ones for me is I would take Frank Frazetta's Death Dealer.
Yeah.
Well, see, that was too easy. I'm thinking
Yeah.
comic books. So I purposely didn't say Frank Frazetta because I was like, I'm going to keep myself into comic book original art.
Hey, that is in a comic book somewhere now. It was added after the fact. And then thirdly, I would take McFarlane's Wolverine, where you're reflecting the Hulk in the claws, the cover.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I love that art. Yeah, number 3 for me is going to have to be something by John Buscema. God damn it. And I'm struggling between a Conan page and a Wolverine.
Would he be tied to a tree?
No, god damn it.
With a vulture sitting in there,
that would
perched above.
That is a badass page. But it would have to be a John Buscema page, and I'm thinking it would have to be a Conan page for number 3.
Caleb?
Yeah. So if money not being an object, the spread from 1966, where they find in the Avengers number 6, if I'm not mistaken, 6 or 7, where they find Captain America in ice. I want that. Yeah, I want that badly.
Who did that?
Was it Buscema? Or
He
was
did
it
Avengers for a while. It might have been.
I think it was Buscema. I have to go check that. I think it's Buscema. Makes sense that it would be. It's not Kirby. But
you can't have it if you don't know who drew it.
Man, yeah, I think that's a strike against you. You want original art, you don't know the artist, man. Take that man's card.
Yep, you can have it. I don't deserve it. No, God, it's gotta be him.
If I were replacing the Frazetta piece, I would probably go with probably the cover of Action Comics #1.
Yeah.
Really?
Just for the iconic Superman holding the car up. And, that piece is worth probably millions at this point.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, dude.
If it even still exists out there.
That's a good question. Where would that be?
Yeah, I don't know. It's not at any of the museums. The second page I would get, just because it's dear to my heart, is the George Perez page from Avengers Volume 3, number 27, where Thor has been out of commission for a long time. And he comes back in the Age of Ultron series, and it's like him busting through the wall saying, "Ultron, we would have words with thee." I love that page. Like, that page as a kid was one of the most and George Perez is is a holy grail for me. And then thirdly, the Frank Miller Bang 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 page. Like that.
From what?
From what?
Bang Bang
Sin
Bang.
City.
Which issue?
It's in the first run. It's just like the letters are all spelled out. Bang Bang Bang.
It's the Marv
and it's Marv jumping through the air in that almost homage. I forget what issue it is because I wasn't able to read them when they're coming out. I've got the actual collections, but it's that Bang 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 page where that's just so freaking cool looking.
It's amazing because I would take anything from Sin City back on Frank Miller and nothing post Sin City from Frank Miller. Maybe 300.
It is Jack Kirby. Yeah, it's Avengers #4.
Oh, okay.
Avengers #4, Jack Kirby. I thought Jack was off of it by that point because I don't remember how long he stays on it.
At least 4 issues. Apparently.
Yeah, that actually that something about that came up for auction recently and went for insane money.
Oh my god!
I'm sure any Kirby art's going to go for insane money.
Yeah, just stunning work. Yeah, but it's Kirby, so yeah, that's mine. George Perez, Kirby, and Frank Miller. I mean, there's a ton of other ones though.
Consider Frazetta comic book adjacent. Is that what you?
Well, I mean, he did. He
did comics.
Yeah, he did comics, but everything we know of him was all
adjacent.
They were all pinups and book covers,
Egyptian Queen things like that.
Yeah, his comic book stuff was westerns and romance stuff. That's not the comic work that he really did.
Trying to think outside of the big two, like what I would want outside of the big two, indie comics or not indie comics, but just
picked one.
Well, right, but just in general. part of me would love to have some of the covers to Harrow County because that's dear to my heart. Like specifically covers, like iconic covers. Um,
I go for
yeah.
interior art much more than covers. Um, I'd love to have some
Oh
some
yeah.
art from this barbaric
I think that's
series.
done digitally though. I think.
You
You
probably
could
get
print
that
it.
affordably.
Yeah. You man would
A
buy a
lot of them are
printer.
doing that now,
Yeah.
though, which I really don't mind as long as you're getting a COA that says it's a one and done piece. To me, it's just what the new art is, and so I'm kind of okay with it.
I haven't accepted it yet. I'm going to eventually. I'm still
You're
holding
gonna have
out.
to if you
Yeah.
want to get
Yeah,
modern art
Yep.
because of it. I mean, it's like trying to find blueprints that are hand
Yeah.
drawn now. It's going to be
Yeah.
gone before
yeah,
long.
yeah.
The speed for which they can make changes and
Mm-hmm.
so forth is
Yeah, it's
too
unfortunate.
valuable.
Yeah.
I'm just going through original art in my head. Grab another
I'll
one,
pick
Craig.
another
Yeah,
one here.
take me away from this topic because I'm going to
Yeah.
keep naming. I'm going to start naming off artists.
Same.
God, now I do want Basima though. He's got to be on my list somewhere.
Okay, you can drink a beer or coffee with one artist who has been prominent in the last 30 years. Who is it and why?
Prominent in the last 30 years. Jeez. So that's only going back to 1990. Crap.
Mine's easy, but it's also a cop out for me.
Who is it?
George Perez.
So we're not talking about newcomers within the last 30 years.
Prominent during the.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking.
Yeah, man, this is a tough one. An artist. It's interesting because we've gotten to meet a lot of people.
I'm really
And
I'm surprised at this because I thought it would have been quick, and yours would have been the guy who did One Piece.
yeah, I mean Oda.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's possible. I mean he would be up there, but I'm thinking also an American art or American comic book
Mm-hmm.
artist. Um, uh, Ryan Otley maybe, just
Huh.
because I loved what he did with Invincible. But uh, that's just a name that pops to my head. But yeah, Oda
Yeah.
or Otley.
I'm not, these kind of questions are hard for me. Is like who you would want to meet because I've never really been big on meeting like celebrities and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not a thing for me. So I'm trying to think who I think would be.
King Todd.
Nah, definitely not. I mean, what else is he going to say? He hadn't already said. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
And
Kevin O'Neill.
just more of it.
Yeah, Kevin O'Neill. I think would have a lot of interesting things to say because he was one of the original 2000 AD guys, and he was both an artist and an art edit.
See, if we went back more than 30 years, it gets a lot easier.
Well, and I say that because I'm not, he was still working in the going on through the 90s, and he did because he did League of Extraordinary Gentlemen,
Yeah.
which is just amazing, so much better than it deserves to be. So talking to him, and then about his career and like because his style changed,
Mm-hmm.
not real dramatically, but his style took a very big change from the early years. So it'd be interesting to learn why he changed his style. What drove him to do that? Why he retired, somewhat early.
Would I be able to understand their language? So if they didn't speak English, would I be able to understand their language if I sat with them? Or if they spoke broken English?
I'm thinking Star Trek world where we all have translators.
Rayalo Caceres is one of the best artists out today.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to sit down and just get his thought process on doing comics.
Emil Ferris, who did My Favorite Thing is Monsters. I would love to. I've been able to have a conversation with her, but I've never actually been able to sit at a table and go long. Like I had the conversation was 10 minutes. I've never been able to go long and really get into the weeds of her story. I would enjoy that. Pat Mills. I think he'd be.
Well, are we talking creators or artists?
Oh, is it? Well, I'd say artists. In my opinion, writers are artists. I'm not limiting it to.
Straight
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Artists,
Only
we're talking creators. Oh,
okay.
yeah. My answer becomes different.
Yeah. So I was thinking artists in general.
You'd have to
that work in comics. Jason Burrows. Like I would like to talk to him.
I was thinking Jason Burrows as well.
He seems like a fascinating guy.
Well, and just what the process is like working with Alan Moore. You know,
I'd want to say Jim Rugg too, but Jim Rugg has his own thing, and so I feel like we get that. Like I feel like he's fairly transparent out in the world to people, and so like that's. I'm trying to think of people too that aren't easily or readily accessible.
Yeah. Garth Ennis.
Had a sandwich with him.
Garth Ennis would be.
It's my claim to fame.
Super, super interesting.
Yeah. No, grab another one.
Could go on and on with these.
That's the one I just did.
Let's see here.
Just about out.
If you could have a conversation with any creator living, who would it be?
Okay. All right, let's throw that one aside.
I guess this is any creator.
So we just did that.
Yep.
So all right, let me try another one here. Craft question. What's more important, character or plot, both or neither, and why? Wow, there's a lot in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Character or plot, both or neither.
I mean, to me, the plot is the most important part of the story.
Yeah.
So, but generally, you're not going to have a great plot without developed characters. So, I would go, if I had to choose between the two, I would probably go with plot.
Well, and keep in mind, so I wrote this question obviously because it sounds like a Caleb question. Nobody's like,
I knew it was you as soon as you did it.
I guess what it means is like what's most important to you, not necessarily like this is more important to just in general. Like what?
No, I mean for me,
for you, I think plot. Like knowing you, I think plot is like that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, it would definitely be plot over character because there are characters that I will read. There, stories about them if they're well done, even if I don't love the character.
Right.
And vice versa is if I love the character and I don't like the story, I'll drop off the book pretty quickly. Or collect the book and not read it is more apt to happen. Spider-Man for the past 10 years.
This one's tough, but I'm going to have to say character because I find myself liking character-driven stories more so than the story's driven so much by the plot. It's a close race, but that is why there's so many stories out there that Jason Aaron has done that I've really liked. Jason Aaron's stuff, to me, that he has done the best are very simple but strong character-driven stories.
Yeah. The Goddamned comes like...
and like his Wolverine run that he did years ago.
He did the Wolverine Goes to Hell stuff, didn't he?
He did that too.
Yeah.
But,
I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
He did this run where, he and Sabretooth are just riding in a car together. And on the surface, I would hate that because I hate when, quote, Sabretooth and Wolverine work together. It's asinine. But Aaron wrote it so well, and the reasons for and the way that the characters were acting in that car, it's great. Just them riding in that car together is great.
So did he change their powers so that somebody else could use them?
No.
That must be nice to have Jason Aaron not run one of your favorite characters.
Yeah. I mean, it's and it's just those when you can take those are things I just really like the most. And whenever you see very specific characters doing things that are so compelling to their nature. That's just what I like the most. That's why, Dr. Doom, just little things like Dr. Doom referring to himself in the third person.
When
that's missing,
yeah,
I hate it. I don't care how good the story is. When you've got Dr. Doom not referring to himself in this bloviating, grand way, I don't care how good your story is. That Dr. Doom is an imitation.
It doesn't work.
I can see where you're coming from because Charles Soule's Sinestro
Yeah.
was so good, and I couldn't even tell you what the plot of that was right now. But the way he wrote Sinestro was so good that it was a good story, regardless of what the plot was. So I can see that as a drawing.
You know, the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
It's a good.
I think is an amazing.
That's a good example.
You know, on the surface, I'm like, what the fuck?
It's a basic plot. The plot. There's a plot.
And it's about, you know, the second arc is better than the first one in my opinion by a mile. And the second arc is about an alien invasion. How more? How generic can you get? But the characters in that book are so compelling.
When did Alan Moore decide to start making everything alien invasions? Was it the second arc of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen?
Yeah, it might have been.
That sounds about right.
Everything became alien invasion at some point for him.
So for me, it's character, and that, like, you guys know me. I can read it. Like Jeff Lemire is a good example. Jeff Lemire can take a character, very simple. He might be just walking down the road, but he can just dive deep into the history of that character, the motivations of that character, the humanity of that character, and by the end of the story, the guy has gone fishing. He's not doing any point A to point B, but you have given me a deep dive, an introspective dive into what makes this person tick and what motivates this person in life. And by the end of the story, by the end of the story, I know everything I need to know about them, and it doesn't really matter what they're doing because I now know that. And
we could make an argument that the human condition in itself is a plot.
You could, and in a lot of situations, they, like, you know, Emil Ferris's My Favorite Thing is Monsters is a good example. They go back and they give you, like, here's what happened in these situations, and there's plot there, but the plot's not the important part. Harrow County, you know, the plot is not necessarily the important part. It's what makes Emmy. It's what makes, because they do go from, like, there's a big plot there, but they really are diving into what makes her, and then the mirror of that.
I think that's a story that has both character. And
it does. No, it has both.
Because of that, it's what makes it such an excellent story.
Yeah, it's good on both.
Because the reality is, I think if you could have your ruthers, you'd rather have both, right? You'd rather have,
of course,
a character driven.
I don't know that that's. I don't know that that's true though, because again, like, I go back to these, and again, it's for me, it's these, you know, largely OGN slice of life comics where there's not a broad, like, those are my favorite to sit down and read when I have time, where there's not really a broad plot.
Yeah, but the stories that have stood the test of time that people keep referring to do have both.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we could give examples of Frank Miller and Alan Moore, both excellent at writing character-driven stories, and then they come together with an amazing plot, and those are the things that are always going to be referenced to.
Because you could say the same thing about Mouse. Technically, that's a character-driven story, but there is a plot there that drives that story. You know, it's set to the background of a.
It's memoir though, and so, like, and that's another question. Do you call memoir plot? Because it's a story. It's a story. It's a retelling of life. But it's mostly true to life in that story, which is haunting. It's still character though. No, I agree though. It's like the magic is when you have both working.
Of course.
So, all right, last question on my end, and this one is going to be fun. I think we've done something similar to this before, but what comic book character or series deserves their own movie or TV series? I mean, we live in the day. We're about to get Moon Knight. You know, the Defenders were fun. You've got Marvel doing everything that Marvel does, all these amazing movies.
That question. I probably did, though.
But yeah, what do you think? Either a character or a series, and specifically TV. Somebody was very specific on this, like TV, not movie. What do you think on that?
I mean, the first one that pops to mind for me is Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah.
First one that pops to mind for me. That just feels way overdue.
I
give it the Game of Thrones treatment.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
Yeah, an episodic. Yeah, just, you know, don't overdo it. Just, I think that'd be...
Give it the Game of Thrones treatment.
Yeah, you know,
don't make it boring for all but one episode of each season.
Oh, you just made a lot of it.
Oh, it's okay. Oh, I'm not wrong, and they know it.
Man. No, Game of Thrones is one of the most compelling shows I've watched. I mean, it's
for one episode a season.
Oh man,
I didn't ever lose Game of Thrones. I loved it up until the last season.
Oh yeah,
like everything kept me hooked. There wasn't just for me. for me, the one episode thing wasn't there. But you're not the only person I've heard with that complaint. So obviously it's there for some people. For
Well,
me,
I'm not
it was great. But I'm
different
also
different story completely. So
yeah.
I mean, different topic completely.
Political machinations is my shit. So
Yeah.
mind management. I would love to see mind management. Matt Kent's mind management turned into a TV series, long form, and it would have to be long form.
I think the concept of Postal would be amazing as a television
It was
show.
optioned. I guess it's not going to happen.
Oh, was it?
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. It's pretty much a script for a television show if you think about it.
Transmet would make a fun TV show.
It'd almost have to be a cartoon, I think, but it would work.
Yeah.
Just kind of absurdist and surrealist.
Yeah.
I'd be down with that.
Are we ever going to get Sandman?
That's a good question.
Casted it repeatedly, but
I think we are. I think we're because they keep coming out with cast.
It's too good not to eventually be adapted. It's just a matter of time.
The question with that is it so hyped up in our brain that it's going to live up to expectations? I think that's the big.
I feel like that for just about everything.
Right.
If they follow what is there for them to follow, if they take the source material and they stay true to it, that doesn't mean word for word adaptation. Yeah. But you stay true to the spirit of the
The boys.
Yes, you stay true to the spirit of the series. I think it's almost can't miss. It's only going to fail if they try to do something different.
Right.
Kind of like Preacher. I think they changed a bit too much, and that became hard to.
Yeah. I think Animosity would be a good TV show. That would be fun.
Be kind of hard to do, but you could. I mean, I guess in the same kind of like Homeward Bound.
Yeah.
You hear the thoughts of the animals versus them speaking.
Well, I mean, we've had Planet of the Apes now. I mean, you can have animals talking. I think the stuff has advanced so much that.
Like we said, we've had Planet of the Apes now.
45
years old.
Well, even I was specifically saying the remake, but
they
you
don't talk in the remakes. Only one of them talks.
Well, one of them does. I mean, but there was a recent thing where there was a monkey that spoke. I forget what it was, but it was a monkey in space and it spoke.
No.
The monkey in Umbrella Academy. So I mean, but you can have talking animals now. I think that it's advanced enough that it's not really a problem. I mean, you gotta have a big enough budget to make it work. I bought my 14-year-old niece Animosity from the shop the other day, so I'm curious to see what they. I think we bought them Monstrous. We bought them some more teen books. So I'm curious to see how that goes.
I remember our local comic book proprietor once looked at me and said, "Oh, you love animals. You should read this book," and handed me We Three.
Oh, God. No.
I'm like, why would you do that to me? Why?
I'll never read that book again. Just flat out. I can't.
I'm
glad I've read it once, but I can't.
No, I'm
not. Watership Down, not I will never revisit that. So Animosities, that's mine. Well, those are all good picks. Did y'all have any others that you wanted to throw in there? I don't want to cut us off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I just wanted a Conan the Barbarian.
I mean, honestly, that makes the most sense.
Would you settle for barbaric?
Yes. I'd love to have barbaric. It's just I just have to give props to the original.
Yeah.
All for what inspired it all to happen first.
I would just be happy with a current updated Conan movie that was good.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have a good Conan movie as well.
And I thought Jason Momoa was perfectly cast as him. It was not Jason Momoa's fault that movie was trash.
Well, people trying to turn Conan into high fantasy, typically is like,
right.
But if they basically, it's like I explained to somebody, I was trying to justify why they should be reading Conan. I was like, at its core, Conan is a crime story. That's basically what Conan is. If you write Conan as basically as a crime story, that's where they're so good. If you go back and, because that's why he's a thief. I mean, he makes a point that, he's a thief.
That's right.
And him being a thief or a hired, a cell sword, that kind of thing. There's so much you can do with that. And there's a lot of subversiveness that goes into that because it's basically, Howard created the character to illustrate the rich and powerful building their wealth upon the working man. And Conan just doesn't let people take advantage of him, even though it tries to happen every day. And, it's only stealing from the rich and only stealing from palaces and houses of worship and that kind of stuff. It's much different than, Conan's not a road bandit.
Yeah.
Stealing from, everyday people.
Well, I think I've always said if you want to inject like high fantasy elements into it, you do that with whatever villain. Like there's enough wizards and stuff like that you can give like a high fantasy slant to. If you need magic and you need some of that stuff thrown in there, and you don't just want it to be like low level gore. Like you throw Kulan Gath in there, and
but that is low fantasy though.
Well,
that is low fantasy.
That's true.
That is low fantasy.
Yeah.
So that definitely is fun to be in there because again, it's Conan basically Conan is a street smart character. Fighting against people that are in an advantageous situation. But, boy, I could keep going.
Is anybody really advantageous when fighting Conan? Just in their mind.
Well, yeah. I mean, if
people who have magic.
Yeah, I mean, somebody is wielding low fantasy magic.
Or in possession of a vagina.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good way to get him off guard.
Yeah.
That's his two weaknesses.
So he's Superman.
Kind of. A little bit. He just doesn't fly as far unless you hit him really hard. And then he just goes across the mountaintop. So, well, all right, guys, are you about ready to land this plane?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, this was fun. Fun questions all around. We hope everybody listening enjoyed this.
I got one more since we're on a Chaos episode.
Oh, let's do it.
Just got a question if you guys watched the released deleted scene from the new Batman movie.
No, I saw where it was a thing, but I haven't seen it.
I haven't watched it yet. I heard it. Everything I heard was people were happy it was left out because they wanted the Joker to be more of a build-up than to have him have that. I don't know. I guess they were saying it took too much away from a potential build-up for the Joker.
Yeah, that's a take. I just thought it was interesting.
I haven't watched it, so it's not my opinion.
Yeah. I just thought, the most interesting part about it to me is in this new Batman storyline that we're getting, this new cinematic storyline, the Joker's already detained. They've already faced off.
Yeah.
So if we get them facing off again, it'll be for the second time. That's never happened in the movie cinematic universe. We're always getting the first time So I thought that was really interesting that, that's already happened.
Yeah.
And what will happen moving forward.
I'm really sad I missed the Batman episode.
We can always rehash it if you want to. I mean, that is fine by me.
It was my favorite take on the Batman.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I love it. It's a great movie.
A lot of people are saying that.
Yeah,
I'm just really successable, no doubt about it. It was well done.
Our friend Hassan, who actually has his own podcast, and I should give him some. It's he's on it with a trio. There's Gotham by Geeks, and they're only Batman. Like they only talk about Batman stuff, and have for years. And he's one of the most hardcore Batman people I know. He thought he's not saying this is his favorite movie, but this is his favorite version of Batman. Mm-hmm. And when he said that, I was like, okay.
What I loved about it was so much of the detective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's the violent part, the fighting part, but
really appreciated that they incorporated the video game elements into the detective stuff. That part that just makes me happy.
He just having him be the detective, he was really, we really got to see what made him the greatest detective.
Yeah. So in that deleted scene, did you actually see the Joker's face? Because I'm in the film, we saw we heard him laughing and we knew who it was. Did you actually get to see it? How did he look?
So you get to see him through the screen, so you don't get a clear,
distorted.
Yeah, you don't get a clear, depiction of his face. You're looking at him through the visitation screen, and I mean he's scarred. Looks like he's got scars all in the back of his head, and patches of hair missing. And the buddy might text me. He's like, "What'd you think of that?" And I was like, "Well, his origin is he fell in a vat of acid."
Yeah.
Technically he would be.
That I'm not hung up on it. I prefer the Joker to be much less drastically grotesque
and
scarred. That's just a personal preference of mine. basically what I
He's not Two-Face.
Yeah. I mean, that's not my favorite.
Or Zaz.
Is him having the real, the very dramatic facial scars.
Yeah.
But it's, I'm not hung up on it.
But then Heath Ledger looked great with his facial scars.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, look, give me a tattoo on the forehead and I'll be happy all day. I'm joking. I saw a great before we go. I saw a great meme, and it was the scene from The Predator where it's Arnold and shit. My brain just shut off. They're clasping hands. What is his name? Why can't I think of his name?
Carl. I spaced on his last name.
It's the black guy from Predator, right?
Yeah,
like
Carl.
so, but they're like
Carl Weathers.
Yeah, where they're clasping hands. And it has, worst Marvel movie or worst DC movie, worst Marvel movie, and at the top of it, with the class bands, it says Jared Leto. Because apparently Morbius is terrible,
I don't know. I'm not interested.
I'm going to watch it, but I'm going to wait for it's on.
Doesn't look good.
I'm not going to the theater to watch
it. That meme just cracked me up. But yeah, anyway,
he's a hell of an actor. But sometimes he chooses some really bad.
He's also, the more you find out about him, the more insane he seems.
Yeah,
like in real life. Like apparently the dude's got a cult and lives on an island. I don't know. Like there's a lot there.
Should stay there.
Yeah, there's a lot happening with that. But let's do like we always do.
He's got a Pringles can in his pants.
That's also what I've heard.
Come here for the facts, folks.
Yep, allegedly. So let's go ahead and bring this thing to a close like we always do. Give you guys a taste of what is to come. Wednesday and Tuesdays now are new comic book days. I'm still not used to that. That's when all the stuff hits the stands.
Wednesdays.
So for us it's just Wednesdays because our proprietor's like, nope, only doing new comic book day once a week at the shop. But new stuff hits the stands every week, and so we are going to let you guys know what we are tentatively excited for and what we think you might enjoy. And we could be right, we could be wrong. There's always that one that we swing and miss on, Craig. But that's just part of it. I
never have missed ever in the history of ever.
Well, brother, since you're back, why don't you kick us off? Tell me something that you're looking forward to this next week.
I am not going to miss on this one.
Okay.
Because it's an omnibus from 1963.
Ooh.
It's X-Men Volume 2.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah. See, I sold my comic collection a couple of years back, so getting my hands back on all of the X-Men books is a thing for me now.
Nice.
I mean, maybe not the books, but being able to have access to them.
The stories.
Yeah. So this contains X-Men 1963 from 32, issue number 32 to 66, and some other, how they mix other titles in there just to fill it up usually. But this should still be what you like, Caleb, because it's before Chris Claremont was on there.
No, to be fair, I don't dislike all of Chris Claremont's stories. I do want to clarify that. Like, Chris Claremont's stories are fine, and he is a genius factory. But I just there's better.
If you list the 10 most iconic X-Men stories, 9 of them will be
10. Yeah, if you list, I said creators. If you list 10 best creators, he's definitely in the top 10. I just don't think he's in the top 5.
No, if you list the 10 most iconic X-Men stories, probably 9 of them will be Chris Claremont stories.
Well, I'm looking forward to Immortal X-Men. Number 1, this is written by Kieran Gillen. The artist is Lucas Wernick.
I almost picked this book, but I didn't because I knew that Matt was.
Yeah, this is the events following X lives and X deaths, where the Quiet Council is trying to hold things together.
I'm really excited about this.
Kieran Gillen.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yep. Now, there was a book that I was actually expecting you to pick.
Yeah,
so I had another one at the ready. But did you both just see this and let me have it? Was this a gift to me?
Oh, I don't know which one.
Jim Ruggs, Grand Design Monster, Hulk Grand Design Monster, number 1.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick this. I've been giddy about this.
3 choices, 3 Marvel.
Yep, 3 Marvel books. We are dipping into the mainstream this week.
DC did not have a lot coming out this week.
The only thing DC had coming out this week was a sensational Wonder Woman book that I'm gonna get. That was it.
I'm reading 2 DC books at this point.
Batman and Detective.
3 because Nightwing as well.
Gotcha. But no, so we're getting Jim Ruggs' Grand Design. I have enjoyed the Grand Design books to this day. I like, for my money, Scioli's Fantastic Four has been the best one. I thoroughly enjoyed that book because he took some license and some liberties with it and gave us a different thing, like took it different places. So this answers the question, and this hopefully will answer the question that I had when we first announced that this was a thing. what avenue is Rugg going to take? Is he going to give us like Pisker's take, where he really condenses a lot of Claremont? Oh, has he? Okay. So, well, that's less exciting, but I'm still excited.
I'm here for it. He's dividing it up to two. He's got, it's madness and monster.
Yeah.
So, he's taking everything and distilling it down into two major parts of that part of the character.
Monster being the first one, and it comes out.
I know you love these grand design books.
They are. They're fun. They're fun bits of history, and they're pretty. So I can't say anything wrong with the art on them. So I'm looking, just in general, they're good.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. Pick it up. So Craig, brother, welcome back.
It was nice, guys. It was nice to. I know I did this about a month ago or so, but it's nice to know that I'm back and that it's just part of it again.
Yeah.
You have to be real careful what you say because you can sound selfish real quickly in this moment. I would have kept taking care of my mom for as long as needed.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But the disruption in your life is monumental in that situation.
Yeah.
And that does, again, at the risk of sounding selfish or whatever, it's
not selfish to want to break from hardship. It's not selfish to want to break from hardship, and everyone, you should know that, but everyone should know that it's not selfish to need a break from stress and hardship, especially when it's as heavy as a load as what you were carrying. That there's nothing selfish about that.
Well, it's nice to be back. It's nice to look forward to this weekly again, to get back into reading comics again, to get back to doing the things that I was doing before Mom got sick. Granted, I would gladly give it all away to have Mom still here, but it is what it is. And moving forward, it's just nice to be a part of this again. So,
nice.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason why they call comics specifically escapism, because it is supposed to distract you from everyday life. And we hope that is like doing this is great for these moments because we get to get around. And at the end of the day, we're friends. And that's what this podcast is born out of. That's what a lot of this community is born out of, is this friendship. So it does my heart good to see you sitting here taking time and enjoying yourself and getting away from that, hopefully having a little bit of distraction and some escapism. And if you're out there listening to this and this is that for you, awesome. We hope it is because that's part of what we do it. Again, I mentioned earlier we have our Facebook page. Go check it out. Type in Southern Fried Geekery in that. Type in at SFG Podcast in Instagram and Twitter. We're there. Follow us. And then if you have an email, or if you would like to email us questions, concerns, comments, maybe you want to answer some of the questions that we asked, shoot it to us, southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. And if nothing further, go forth and love some comics.
Word.
Man of many words.
He is the Matt of many words.